Hi and welcome to The Winning Factor. I'm Alan Aitken, and on this show each week we take a look at some upcoming races in Hong Kong and try to isolate an angle to the race that might be a path to finding the winner. Well, Group 1 racing on Sunday, the return of Romantic Warrior, the Cox Plate winner, and Voyage Bubble. They clash head-on in the Hong Kong Gold Cup. They haven't got it only to themselves, of course, and all the information you need for that top Group 1 race is all over the Hong Kong Jockey Club website: interviews, form, replays, all the things you need to get a grip on that race. We're going to look at a couple of the undercard races on this show, however, and the first is going to be the first, and our winning factor here, the Triple Threat. So this is a Class 4 over 2,000 metres, and I think there will be fans for Zach Burton's mount here, Kimberly. Romantic Fantasy is lightly raced and improving. Hugh Bowman's mount, Total Power, is only recently back into Class 4 and has a chance. Special Hedge and Management Folks will also be chances. And the last start Class 5 winner, Starship 80, returns to the races after just 7 days. But for me, the two major players here are Kimberly and Starship 80. So let's take a look at their latest offerings. First of all, race 420, and Kimberly is in gate 12 here, blue and pink colours, and not the best to begin, but his rider Antoine Hamlin sends him forward, and he does have a little bit of work to do in the early stages, but note the heat map here. The first 450 metre section was 6 lengths slower than the average for this class, a total crawl, so that is softening the impact of that early work, and he's able to get into a prime position for the way the race sets up. Now, the leaders do increase pace in the middle stages, but really turn it on from the 800 metres in a sprint home that makes it hard for those further back in the field to make ground. Kimberly, well, he has the advantage of that tempo shape and sticks on okay, but he's just cut out of third on the line. So that was a decent run from Kimberly at his just second start down in Class 4. I mean, one thing about this horse, though, we haven't quite worked out what he is. His better runs have been at Happy Valley and on the dirt. So we're still forming an opinion as to how he goes at Sha Tin, but certainly that was a meritorious run. Now, a week later, Starship 80 had his latest appearance and continued a great season with his third win from 12 starts in Class 5. This is race 427, he's in yellow colours, gate 10, and he jumps okay, but Teton's tactics from the wide draw are to steady immediately and dive over to the rail to save ground. Now, the pace here isn't especially fast or slow, but leaning towards slower, so that isn't a real positive for the back markers, but Teton sticks with the plan out the back, takes all the shortcuts up the inside in the straight, and when the leaders tire late, he gets over them to score with some comfort. Now, he's up in class, something we often look for on this show, and he's well drawn again, certainly drawn well enough when we look at the map to think that he's going to get an economic run again in a race where the pace looks okay. Special Hedge and Jubilation likely take up the front running. I don't think this race will be particularly fast or slow either. Now, I mentioned what a difficult start this is for horses who haven't drawn well quite often, and they run almost straight onto a long turn, and that's a problem for Romantic Fantasy. But Kimberly, Total Power, gets soft gates. Management Folks also draws in, but he generally misses the jump anyway, so he'll get back. But I want to highlight as well Starship 80's trainer, Pierre Ng. Now, it's not news that he is a runaway leader at the top of the championship table, so obviously he's been winning more races than anyone else. However, I did want to point out, we often talk about trainers having different areas where they excel. Well, Pierre, he's excelling in pretty much all the areas at the moment, particularly in 3. When you look at this table, these are the last start winners, and I've used only statistics from this season. I normally look for multiple years to get a better sample, but Pierre only started his career last season, so he's a small sample anyway, and I think looking at the current season, underlines where the stable strengths have been. With last start winners, Pierre has the second best strike rate and is third ranked here versus market expectations. On this graphic, you can see his results with horses up in class, horses rising in class. Only Francis Loy is edging ahead of him for the top ranking, but Ng has been very strong here too. And finally, a table on backups. Now, this is an area which Ng is really working hard on, the quick backup. He's had a lot of these runners returning to the races within 7 days of their last appearance. And while there are others with higher strike rates from fewer runners, he leads the way versus market expectations. So the tip from me in race 1 is Starship 80. His winning factor, the triple threat. As I mentioned, trainers have different areas of excellence, but here we have an area where Pierre Ng is doing very well with horses up in grade, with last start winners, and with horses coming back to the races after 7 days. And here, Starship 80, well, he's all three. The other race I want to take a look at is race 2, and the winning factor here, control. A tricky class 2 with only a small field, but plenty of quality involved, and most runners will have some fans. But I think foremost amongst them last week's winner, Tully Begill. Fantastic Treasure is back from making a reasonable fist of a longer distance in Group 3, while Swet Encounter goes the other way, coming up in grade off some good Class 3 form. Now, first of all, I want to go back to International Day. This is several runs back for all of these horses, but we saw the clash of the Golden Scenery, Tully Begill and Fantastic Treasure in a race, and it gives us a chance to line them up. So this is race 241. Gate 2, the Golden Scenery in red colours, jumps slowly, as does Tully Begill, gate 4 in the orange and white, and he's then ridden along to slide closer. While gate 8, Fantastic Treasure, light blue colours, is out okay, but in no hurry. Now the pace is good initially, but slows very quickly in the second split before the pace quickens again on the circle. So it's a very stop-start race for these three, who are racing fairly adjacent to each other in about midfield. Now in the straight, we'll see Golden Scenery find some traffic, but the other two race each other down the straight without making an impact on the finish, but without a great deal between each other. Now the reason I wanted to show that race in particular is the weights don't differ greatly from that race to this between the Golden Scenery and Fantastic Treasure. Just a little swing towards Fantastic Treasure. But Tully Begill is the one who's very poorly off, because he's won that race last week since and has been penalised in the handicaps for that. So all in all, that gives an edge to Fantastic Treasure. However, then we get to Swet Encounter. This is race 415. He's in gate 13 in mauve colours, and Swet Encounter begins well enough for Zac Purton, but Zac doesn't have any option but to drift back to get closer to the rail from that wide gate with good pace underneath him early. Now, it's actually a nice ride as Purton gets in around midfield too wide, but then he gets shuffled back behind another runner to be further towards the rear in the last 4, just ahead of the eventual winner, California Voce, you see in the dark blue colours. Now, he and the winner, well, their fortunes differ around the home turn. California Voce is ridden for luck and he gets a run through the field, while Swet Encounter is pushed wider around the bend. In the stretch, they come with their runs together, but California Voce proves just too strong, carrying 10 pounds less. Now that's a good effort again from Swet Encounter, who's been in good form, and now he rises in grade, something we do look for on this show, but the real key to this event is the map. Now we noted Swet Encounter's good start in that replay. He did have a period late last season, early this season, when he was missing the jump, but recently he seems to be back to his old ways, that we saw earlier in his career when he even led successfully in races. Now that early speed hasn't been much good to him from gate 13 in his last 2 starts, but now he finds an unusual race where the other 5 runners are all back markers. Swet Encounter only has to come out of the gates cleanly here, and I think Sha Tin gets full control of the race. Obviously, someone of the others will be closer than usual, but it's hard to see any of them leading Swet Encounter without getting out of their tactical comfort zone and helping other back runners. So the tip in race 2 is Swet Encounter. His winning factor, control. Now, even if this was a full field and a proper speed, I think Swet Encounter would be one of the strong chances in the race. But the way this shapes up, with Sha Tin likely getting to control the race and run it as he likes, that makes Swet Encounter an even stronger chance. Well, that's it from the winning factor this week. Good luck on Sunday. Enjoy the Group 1. We'll see you next time.